Hello guys, this is your friend Multiverse Shinobi 2.0 and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is, what if Naruto unleashed Kurama during Chūnin exam training? Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. Uzumaki Naruto has been having a bad day. He passed the preliminaries of the Chūnin exams and went to the hospital to see if he could get Kakashi-sensei to train him. He refused, saying he had to train Uchiha Sasuke, Naruto's teammate on Team 7, but he did get Naruto a teacher. Unfortunately it was the closet pervert Ebisu. Ebisu is a Tokubetsu Jonin Naruto met after his first encounter with Sarutobi Konohamaru, the Sandaime Hokage's grandson, when he was knocked out after an encounter with Naruto's Haremu no Jutsu, harem jutsu. He is a snooty and arrogant man dressed in the standard blue of a Jonin, wearing round sunglasses, and his Hitai-8 forehead protector, worn as a bandana. He also is one who sees Naruto as the fox brat. Naruto was furious and immediately refused his help. Ebisu, playing on Naruto's ego and negative feelings toward him, challenges Naruto. If Naruto was able to escape from him, he would resign as his teacher and convince Kakashi to train him. Taking the bait, Naruto accepts and quickly flees. After a village-wide chase involving multiple uses of the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Shadow Clone Jutsu, and a lot of frustration for Naruto, he finally gives in and accepts Ebisu as his teacher. After lunch at Ichiraku Ramen, a lecture on chakra control, and one empty wallet belonging to Ebisu later, the duo moves to the hot springs to practice water walking. Shortly after starting to practice, Naruto discovered a man peeping on the women's side of the hot spring. Ebisu, seeing this, demands he cease his actions and tries to attack him, ending with him knocked out at the hands of the man and a large toad. After his hermit dance and crazy introduction, the super pervert, now identified as Jiraiya the Gamma Sennin, Toad Sage, decides to take Naruto under his wing. We now find Naruto with Jiraiya at a waterfall near the outskirts of Konoha trying to get the water walking exercise down. End flashback. Kuso. Why can't I do this? An orange-clad Naruto shouts in frustration after yet another failed attempt at water walking ending with him drenched. Grumbling at his failure, Naruto discards his jumpsuit leaving him clad in a pair of green boxers patterned with little ramen bowls patterned. What am I doing wrong? I'm channeling my chakra in a steady amount to my feet. Why won't it work already? Frustrated beyond belief, Naruto decides to ask for help. Nay, Ero Sennin, do you have any idea what I'm doing wrong? Rapidly turning around with an angry look, damn Gaki. I told you not to call me da. Trailing off with a confused look, Jiraiya is looking intently at Naruto's seal with its new addition. Why is there a Gogyo Fuin, 5-element seal, over Naruto's Hake no Fuin Shiki, 8 trigrams seal? No wonder he's having difficulties. An odd-numbered seal over an even-numbered seal would screw up anyone's chakra control. Walking over to Naruto, who now has a rather exasperated look on his face, Jiraiya asks, Gaki, why is there a Gogyo Fuin over your seal? A what? Oh, is that what that damn snake pedo Orochimaru did after he jabbed me in the stomach? He attacked us during the second stage in the Forest of Death. Orochi Tem, I should have known. I knew he placed his Ten no Juin, cursed seal of heaven, on the Uchiha because Sarutobi Sensei asked me to look at the Fuja Hoin, evil sealing method, Kakashi placed to contain it. However, he didn't tell me that Naruto had a seal as well. Why didn't he say anything? Naruto, didn't you tell anyone you had that seal placed on you? With a rather sheepish look on his face, Naruto said, I forgot to. After jumping up from face faulting onto the ground, Jiraiya slapped Naruto on the back of the head and exclaimed, you dumb Gaki. How could you forget to say anything? Didn't you notice how your chakra control was shot after that? What do you mean my chakra control was shot? I thought it just got rid of Kyuubi's chakra which I was using at the time. Is this why I can't do the water walking? Can you get rid of it? With a flabbergasted look on his face, Jiraiya asked, did you say Kyuubi's chakra? You can wield it. Since when? Yeah, I can, ever since I went on the mission to Wave Country. Kakashi-sensei told me what happened afterward because my memory is kinda fuzzy from there. He also told me how I went berserk. So, I started training myself in using it so I didn't go crazy every time I drew on it after we got back to the village. I didn't get very far though. I could only use so much before it got real hazy, and I started losing myself to bloodlust. He had a fearful look on his face now. I didn't want that to happen when I was in the village. I'm treated bad enough by the village already. Between the civilian council making my life hell by allowing the vendors to throw me out of their shops and overcharge me for rotten food and poor quality equipment, my apartment constantly being broken into and my things broken, as well as the threatening messages like, "Die Demon," painted on my walls, and the glares and curses I get from the villagers, things are bad enough. I'm just lucky the mobs that beat me half to death stopped after I became a ninja. I was tired of getting poison in my IVs at the hospital. This changes everything. I had planned on only giving him some basic training in drawing on the QB and letting him sign the Toad contract. However, if he is already using its chakra, I'm going to have to move up my plans for him, especially since I've heard from my spy network that the Akatsuki are becoming more active. It took a moment for the rest of Naruto's statement to register, but when it did he was furious. A massive killer intent spread all across the clearing. Mentally raving in his head with a murderous look on his face, those blasted villagers. How dare they do this to my godson? Sarutobi-sensei lied to me. He said Naruto was doing fine. What the hell was he saying? This is not fine at all, this is terrible. Completely ignoring Naruto's nervous look at feeling the killer intent, he starts pacing back and forth furiously. Damn them. Why would they do this? Naruto is a hero. Every day he protects the village by being the jailer of Kyuubi. Those ignorant bastards are blinded by their hatred of the beast and they take it out on Naruto just for being the container. I bet they don't even see Naruto as a human. They probably only see the Kyuubi. Killer intent rising by the second he walks over to the nearest tree and throws Rasengan after Rasengan at it in a rage. Turning to Naruto with murder still burning in his eyes, he instantly freezes when he notices Naruto is curled up on the ground in a fetal position, fearfully staring out at nothing with tears welling in his eyes, flashbacks of the beatings he suffered running through his mind triggered by the large amount of killer intent Jiraiya was exuding. Those eyes. Such eyes full of pain and fear. No child should have such eyes. What did they do to you, Naruto? I'm so sorry I wasn't there. I'm so sorry, Minato, Kushina. I've failed your son. Face now taking on a determined look, Jiraiya comes to a decision. This stops now. Screw the council and their decision, I'm taking Naruto as my apprentice and leaving with him after the exams. I'm one of the Densetsu no Sannin, legendary 3 ninja. I can do it and they can't stop me. I'm going to make him so strong for the finals and show them all the mistakes they made. I'm going to have to talk to Sarutobi-sensei after we are done here. Taking deep breaths to calm himself, his face takes on the softest and most caring expression he can muster. He slowly walks over to Naruto so as not to scare him any more than he already is. Kneeling and gently encircling Naruto in his arms, he can feel how Naruto goes completely rigid. It's okay, Naruto. I'm so sorry about that. When you told me what happened, I forgot myself for a moment there. Please calm down. I won't hurt you. I won't let anyone else hurt you anymore either. I will protect you from them. That is a promise. Just let it all out. I'm here and I'm not going anywhere. Naruto tentatively returns Jiraiya's hug, and when nothing else happens, he buries his face in Jiraiya's chest and cries. Sadness flowing out of him in waves, he weeps for his life and for all the pain, suffering, loneliness, and solitude. Gripping Jiraiya like he is his very link to life, Naruto reveals his pain to the world. The mask of happiness that he wore all his life is shattered. All the agony that he feels deep in his very soul he cries out to the heavens in his anguish. 2 hours later, eventually Naruto runs out of energy and falls asleep in Jiraiya's arms. Picking him up bridal style with tears running down his own face and feeling pain in his heart, Jiraiya leaps away to take Naruto home so he can go and think for a bit. After arriving back at the village, he decides to walk in order to get a feel of the villagers on his way to Naruto's apartment. While walking through the village, he can see the glares directed at Naruto and the muttering and pointing at Jiraiya. Channeling some chakra to his ears in order to hear what the villagers are saying, he is immediately disgusted by some of the things he hears. That's Jiraiya-sama. What is he doing with the demon brat in his arms? The brat's eyes are closed. Do you think he's dead? Good riddance if he is. Yondaime-sama was Jiraiya-sama's student. Maybe he is going to finish his student's job and get rid of the demon. Starting to glare at the villagers, the whispers take a more furious pace. Why is Jiraiya-sama glaring at us? He should be happy the demon is hurt. I bet the blasted demon is corrupting the great Jiraiya-sama like he did with Hokage-sama. He should get rid of the brat before its taint spreads to him. Shaking slightly in his anger, he decides to take to the rooftops. If he stayed any longer he might do something that would either put himself or Naruto in danger. Channeling chakra through his legs to move fast, he makes a beeline to Naruto's apartment. Entering the slums near the outskirts of the village, he comes upon Naruto's apartment. However, upon arriving he notices it completely trashed with threatening messages spread all over the walls. His anger rises the more he looks at it. Unconsciously, he starts leaking a small amount of killer intent, causing Naruto to whimper in his sleep. Immediately realizing what was happening, he pushes his anger away and grips Naruto a little tight in his embrace. This is what he goes through every day. How can you still be sane, Naruto? There is no way he will be safe here. But, I can't take him with me to see Sarutobi-sensei because of all that will be discussed. I would not dare leave Naruto alone at my hotel either. From those whispers I bet rumors would be spread all over the village in minutes. He might get attacked if I leave him in my hotel room. Where can I take him? He thought on the issue for several minutes before coming to a solution. Using the Shunshin no Jutsu, body flicker technique, he leaves in a cloud of smoke to his hotel. Placing him on the bed, he puts him in a genjutsu for a dreamless sleep. After this, he goes into the living room. He channels a large amount of chakra and performs the hand signs for the Kuchio's no Jutsu, summoning jutsu, and summons Shima, one of the elder toad sages of Mount Myoboku. When the smoke clears, a small yellow and purple toad with curly purple hair holding a rolling pin appears. Jiraiya-chan, what are you doing summoning me here? I was right in the middle of making dinner. Bowing deeply at the waist, Jiraiya says in a pleading voice, I'm sorry Shima-sama, but I have a very important request to make of you. Will you please listen? Hopping onto the coffee table, Shima says, this sounds serious, Jiraiya-chan. Is something wrong? Sitting on the floor, Sashima can look Jiraiya in the eye. He says with utmost seriousness, it's about my godson Naruto. Things have gone horribly wrong. Over the next hour he then proceeds to tell Shima all that has happened today with Naruto, all that Naruto told him, what he plans to do with Naruto, his trip in the village, and the whispers and rumors he suspected were flying around. And that is all that's happened. Please take Naruto with you back to Mount Myoboku while I go and get Naruto's situation sorted. I don't trust the villagers to not try something when he is weak like this. I put him in a sleeping jutsu, and I want him to stay that way for now. He revealed a lot of pain today and it left him exhausted. Throughout Jiraiya's tale, Shima's face reflected first surprise, then anger, and finally sadness and determination. Nodding her head in agreement with Jiraiya's reasons, the poor child has seen so much suffering at such a young age. I agree with you about the villagers. Your reasons are valid, and even though he has not signed the Toad contract, you plan on having him do it, so it won't be too much of a problem to take him back with me. I will do it. Prostrating himself in front of her, he repeatedly bows in gratitude. Thank you, Shima-sama. I won't be long. I'll come back for him tomorrow. Don't bow to me like that, Jiraiya-chan. It's all right. Now let's go see the boy. Hopping onto his shoulder, Shima and Jiraiya both head back to the bedroom. Seeing him sleeping so peacefully, Shima remarks, he looks so peaceful. It's hard to believe all that he has suffered. Sighing, she hops off Jiraiya's shoulder and onto the bed. Get this sorted, Jiraiya-chan. I don't want to know what Pa and Bunta will do if you don't. They loved Minato, and to hear how his son was treated will infuriate them. Touching Naruto's shoulder, Shima and Naruto disappear in a puff of smoke. After leaving, Jiraiya sits on the bed and sighs. To think all of this has happened. I never would have guessed things got this bad. I better go talk to Sarutobi-sensei. 15 minutes later, Hokage's office. Sarutobi Hiruzen, the Professor, the Shinobi no Kami, god of Shinobi, the Sandaime Hokage, had a bad feeling in the pits of his stomach. Things just seemed to be going wrong for him lately, and he felt that things were only going to get worse. Pushing back from his desk full of a mountain of unfinished paperwork, he groaned as he stood up with his old joints popping. Walking out on the balcony and looking over his village, his gaze eventually fell towards the Hokage monument, more specifically, the Yondaime's head. Staring for a few minutes, he sighed in sadness. I wish you were still here, my friend, sitting in this office and wearing this hat instead of me. I'm getting old, my friend. When I was reinstated after your sacrifice, I never expected things to go so badly. This village is being corrupted. The village council is taking more and more power away from me. Their greed and hatred are ruling them. Your son is not treated as the hero he is. The shinobi side is mostly on his side, but the civilian side is always making trouble. At every meeting with the council, they try to make Naruto's life miserable. Thinking back on the last council meeting, things were even worse than usual. Flashback. Council meeting. Hokage-sama, the demon brat is growing too powerful. He passed the preliminaries and is moving on to the finals against Hyuga Neji. He is showing power that he should not have. The demon is influencing him. One of the civilian council members shouted. There is no way the brat should be that strong. The demon is definitely taking over. We need to stop it before it grows too powerful and destroys the village. It's even corrupting his classmates with its demonic powers. Why else would the honorable clan heirs and heiresses be with him? It should be banished, Hokage-sama. We must be rid of its taint on the village. No, he should be executed. Drop him from the ninja program. Banishment. This went on for hours. The shinobi side could not even get in a word. The elders and Danzo were pushing for Naruto to be made a weapon to be controlled. With a growing headache, the Hokage slammed his fist on the table, releases a large amount of killing intent at the civilian council and shouts, enough. Naruto is a human boy, not a demon. There will be no killing, banishing, or dropping him from the ninja program. He is growing strong because he trains day and night, not because of his burden influencing him, Yubakas. The crippled, old war hawk Danzo at this point smirked and remarked, and what do you have to say about the boy's training in controlling the demon's power, Hiruzen? Were you going to tell us about that? Hiruzen inwardly cursed Danzo's knowledge about that because he knew he was going to try to use that to his advantage. The civilian side started muttering at that. However, before things could get out of hand again, Danzo raised his hand to halt the tirade. I'm sure you all think this is a bad thing, and it can be. But, right now it is not. If we can get him under control, he would become Konoha's greatest weapon. Our nation's superiority would be cemented with the Kyuubi's power at our side. Our village would get all the mission requests, thus, bringing in more money. Minor countries wouldn't dare go against us and scramble over each other to gain our favor, which will open up trade routes and more for merchants and other wealth to make its way to the village. Appealing to the greed of the council, the civilians started nodding in agreement, and pretty soon they were shouting how he should be given to Danzo as a weapon. End flashback. After the shouting died down, it was eventually put to a vote. However, both sides were completely tied. The civilians all voted yes, as well as Danzo. The two elders, who only had one vote and it had to be unanimous or they did not count, voted yes. The shinobi all voted no, with the Hokage using his right of 2 votes for no. thus deadlocking the issue and causing it to be discarded. Walking back into the office to stare at the portraits of the previous Hokages, his eyes fell on the Yondaime. I can't protect him for much longer, old friend. Today was the closest they ever got to ruining Naruto's life forever. Eventually one of the shinobi will side with the civilians and Naruto's fate will be sealed. His musing was interrupted by the arrival of Jiraiya coming in the window. Sensei. We have to talk. If he was surprised due to the icy tone of Jiraiya's voice, he was very surprised to notice how serious Jiraiya looked right now. Waving Jiraiya into his office, he sat down at his desk with his elbows resting on the top with his hands clasped in front of his face. Is something wrong, Jiraiya-kun? What has happened? Sitting down across from the Sandaime, Jiraiya says, "It's Naruto." That bad feeling growing, he sends out the Anbu in his office and activates the privacy seals. He then asks in a worried voice, "What has happened? Is Naruto-kun okay? Did he get hurt?" Face contorting in anger, he spat out, "No, he's not okay. He's almost as far from okay as you can get." Very concerned now, the Sandaime asks, "What do you mean?" Jiraiya then proceeds to tell him everything about the events of today, starting from when he met Naruto to having him taken to Mount Myoboku. All matter of emotions fly across the Sandaime's face as the story goes on and finally settles on deep sadness and weary resignation. "Don't you see, Sensei? Things are horrible. If I don't do something, things will only get worse." Sighing deeply, "I'm afraid things are much worse than you know, Jiraiya-kun." Now it's the Sandaime's turn to tell what happened during the council meeting he had, with Jiraiya's anger rising as the story progressed until finally he exploded. Killer intent higher than the Sandaime had felt in years exploded from Jiraiya and washed over the village, causing concern among the shinobi and civilians to panic when the angry voice of the Gamma Sennin rang out. "How dare they do that? That damn council. And Danzo. When I get my hands on him all." The voice cut off abruptly when the Sandaime activated the silencing seals in his office. Inside the office, however, the ranting went on, getting more and more graphic in describing how Jiraiya was going to murder the council. Eventually his anger ran out and gave way once more to sadness and he collapsed in the chair. "Jiraiya-kun, as much as I might agree with you, there is nothing I can do. The council has gained too much power." Both men lapse into silence, thinking on how they can try to fix this. Eventually Jiraiya came up with an idea. "I can take Naruto as my apprentice." "What will that do, Jiraiya? I thought you already planned on doing that." "That's not what I was talking about, Sensei. I mean, I will take Naruto as my full-time apprentice and name him as my successor. Doing so will make me his guardian, grant him some privileges like the Chūnin traveling rights that will allow him to come and go as he pleases with no repercussions, and provide him political protection when it is publicly announced. Plus, the council can't stop it because of my rights as a Chūnin." A Chūnin answers only to the Hokage, not the greedy bastards on the council. The Sandaime thought it over thoroughly, lighting up his pipe while weighing the pros and cons of the decision, before finally agreeing. "It seems like that is our only choice. However, do you understand the repercussions this will have? Publicly acknowledging this will make Naruto many enemies both in and out of the village. The council is going to be furious. They will try anything to stop Naruto from leaving. They might even go after those he cares about." Jiraiya was nodding throughout this, then said, "I will talk with Naruto later, find out who it is that he cares for, and then find a way to discreetly warn them. They will not be caught in the crossfire of this without knowing what could happen." "That is a good idea, Jiraiya. However, there is one thing wrong here. Naruto-kun's classmates do not know about his tenant. You can be sure those who go after them will try to use that to their advantage. I thought of that and I have an idea, but you aren't going to like it. We may not have a choice. What are you thinking? I want you to remove the law that prevents the older generation from talking about Naruto's burden." The Sandaime almost dropped his pipe in shock. "Jiraiya, are you insane? That is the only thing allowing Naruto a peaceful life in the village. If I do this, the older generation will poison the younger with lies and turn the rest of the village against him. I know that, but I have a plan to help prevent some of that. Besides, Naruto does not have a peaceful life in the village anyway. I'll bet I haven't heard even half of what has happened with Naruto growing up, and what I have makes me want to beat the villagers to a pulp. Wearily, the Sandaime says, "You're right. I've tried my best over the years to help him, but I'm blocked at every turn. What is your plan?" "I won't be able to prevent everybody from hating him, but I can at least try to save his friends. I know there is another Jinchuriki in the finals. I want you to talk to Naruto's classmates Senseis under the guise of advice about Jinchuriki due to one being in the finals. You will hint to them that something big is going down soon and that Naruto's burden will soon become public knowledge. You will talk about how they are treated, what their life is like, the beatings, the glares, prejudice, hatred, the power they can wield, enough to paint a picture about how a Jinchuriki is only a container, not what they contain. You will then instruct them to repeat what you have said to their students. This gives them a valid reason to talk about Jinchuriki if confronted about it, because the council was warned about Gaara being one of the containers. Therefore, they will have to accept the reason even if they don't believe it." Realization dawned. So when Naruto being a Jinchuriki is public knowledge, they will already have a clear opinion free of lies on the subject. Plus, knowing what Naruto's life was like due to his burden will prevent them from being swayed by the lies they might be told, because the trust in the older generation will be shaken when the children realize what Naruto had to go through because of them, causing them to not believe the lies and side with Naruto. In turn, this will keep Naruto happy because he knows at least part of the village accepts him for his burden. Both men grinning now. "Jiraiya-kun, that's brilliant. That would work very well. You know me, sensei, always getting out of tight spots. What are you going to do in the meantime?" "I'm going to train Naruto. I'm going to teach him as much as I can in the month period so that when the finals come around the village will be blown away. I also plan to take him away from the village after the finals are over and he is promoted. That reminds me, I need Naruto's inheritance because I plan to inform Naruto about his mother during the break and then his father after we leave. Keeping him in the dark when he was desperate for one bright spot in his life was the wrong thing to do." Nodding in agreement, the Sandaime stands up and walks over to the Yondaime's portrait. Pulling it away from the wall, he reveals a seal. Biting his thumb and swiping it over the seal, it glows slightly and fades away, revealing a safe hidden in the wall. Motioning Jiraiya over, who bites his thumb and swipes it over the safe, causing it to unlock and open, revealing two large scrolls, one wrapped in a red ribbon with the Uzumaki clan symbol on it and the other wrapped in a yellow ribbon with the Namikaze clan symbol. The Sandaime takes them and gives them to Jiraiya with some parting words. "Keep him safe, Jiraiya-kun. I care about that boy like he was my own grandson. Help him find his will of fire. Also, ask him to forgive an old man for his mistakes." Accepting them, Jiraiya replies, "I will, sensei, and don't worry. He will forgive you. You are his, Gigi, after all." Watching Jiraiya leap out the window, Sarutobi sighs. "I hope he does, Jiraiya. But after he finds out all that I've hidden from him, he may never forgive me." A puff of smoke appeared and a small messenger toad appeared in front of Jiraiya. "Please tell Shima-sama to return Naruto, please." The toad nodded and disappeared in a puff of smoke. "First things first, I'm going to have to talk to Naruto. Explain to him what is happening and what I'm planning. Hopefully he will go along with it." Another puff of smoke signaled the arrival of Shima with Naruto. "Hello, Jiraiya-chan," was heard as the smoke cleared. Bowing in respect, Jiraiya addressed the elder toad sage. "Hello, Shima-sama. Was there any trouble with Naruto back at the mountain?" Shima sighs and says sadly, "Not much, but let's just say the toads are not very happy with Konoha right now." Resting Naruto against a nearby rock, Jiraiya responds, "Yes, I figured they would not be." "What happened?" "Yes. Well, you see. Flashback. Yesterday, Mount Myoboku." A puff of smoke signaled the arrival of Elder Shima and Naruto to Myobokuzen, the home of the Toad clan. Appearing in the bedroom of the small cottage home, Shima laid Naruto down on the bed and tucked him in. Entering the room shortly after was a small green toad with balding gray hair visible on the top and large gray eyebrows extending around his face to the sides of his head. This toad was Fukasaku, husband of Shima and the other elder toad sage. Hey, Ma, who is this? When you were summoned earlier, we had no idea what was happening. Some of the toads were getting worried. Ah, Pa, don't startle me like that, you old goat. This is young Naruto Uzumaki. I brought him here as a favor for Jiraiya. Fukasaku's eyebrows shot straight up when he heard the name. Surprised, he asks, Minato's tadpole. Why did Jiraiya have him brought here? I can sense he has not signed the toad contract. You know that anyone who hasn't should not be here. I know, Pa, I know. I can assure you Jiraiya had valid reasons for him being here. Things have gone very bad for Naruto in Konoha. Please assemble the clan in 30 minutes because they all need to hear this. It could affect our future partnership with Konoha. Quote. A bewildered look crossed Fukasaku's face as he nodded and then left, no doubt wondering what could possibly happen to cause this. As he left, Shima's face crumpled in sadness as he stared at the child sleeping peacefully. With tears running down her face, she caressed his face and said in a soothing tone, Don't worry, young tadpole. You are safe here. 30 minutes later, the toads gathered in the clearing are confused. A little while ago they were all asked to assemble here to discuss something that could affect their relationship with Konoha. In the front group were 3 very large toads, a red toad with a scar over his left eye wearing a blue jacket and Tonto with a pipe in his mouth, a purple toad dressed in a battle kimono and mesh wielding a Sakazuki-like shield and Sasumata, and an aquamarine toad wearing an orange sash around his stomach and wielding 2 huge katanas. These toads were Gamabunta, Gameiken and Gamahiro. The one with the katanas asked, Elders, what is going on? Why have you assembled us? Patience, Hiro. Ma will explain what's happening in a minute. The purple toad then said, I may be ungraceful, but may I assume that this has to do with the young tadpole currently sleeping in your cottage, Elder Shima? The rest of those gathered were now listening to the conversation with interest. Nodding, you would be correct, Gameiken. Correct me if I'm wrong, but is that Minato's son, the Jinchuriki? Yes, Bunta, it is. Turning to address everyone, Shima then starts to speak. Everyone listen to me. Something terrible has happened in Konoha. You all remember young Minato, Jiraiya-chan's first apprentice. You all know how he died facing the Kyubi no Kitsune 13 years ago by sealing it into his child. His last wish was that his son be treated as a hero. Thanks to Jiraiya who encountered young Naruto, he learned the truth, and what a terrible, tragic truth it was. Flashback end. I told them all that you told me, and needless to say they were furious. We had to use Gamahiro and Gameiken to restrain Bunta from going to the portal to this world and attacking the village in a rage. He loved Minato like he was his own tadpole. To hear how his only son and heir was treated here caused him to fly into a rage. He's now drinking himself into a stupor to drown his sorrow away and refuses to be summoned until this is fixed. The rest of the clan is of similar attitudes. I'd recommend not summoning them unless it is an absolute emergency. Jiraiya sighed in dejection. I understand, Shima-sama. I will respect their wishes. It's probably for the best, Jiraiya-chan. Did you discuss what will happen with young Naruto with your sensei? Looking determined now, yes we did. We've got a plan to help protect him from now on and give him some happiness in his life. Jiraiya then informs Shima of what he and the Hokage planned, his taking Naruto as his full-time apprentice and guardian, his plan to have the Hokage talk to the sensei of Naruto's classmates who will then talk to their students, his plan for training for the finals, his inheritance, and then leaving after the exams are done. Nodding in agreement while chuckling, you could always get out of the stickiest situations, Jiraiya-chan. It's brilliant. Smugly, it's not too bad if I say so myself. Thank you for taking care of Naruto, Shima-sama. I am in your debt. Think nothing of it, Jiraiya-chan. Yane. A puff of smoke and Shima was gone. I suppose I better wake him up and get started. Kneeling in front of him, he taps Naruto's forehead and mutters, release. Naruto starts stirring and opens his eyes, a dead look in them. Upon seeing Jiraiya, he groggily Naruto asks, Ero Sennin, was yesterday a dream? Did all that happen? Kneeling down to look Naruto in the eye, no, it wasn't a dream, and yes, all of that happened. Looking cautiously hopeful, and what you said? Did you mean it? Giving Naruto the most solemn and serious look he could muster, yes, Naruto, it is all true. Light returns to Naruto's eyes and giving Jiraiya a smile, not the fake one to mask his pain, but a true, genuine smile that brightens the room. So what is going to happen to me now? Are we still training? Yes, we are, but first let me tell you what happened after you fell asleep. Then we can get started. Mood rising by the minute as Jiraiya gives a recap of all that has happened and what he plans to do, Naruto is overjoyed by the end of it all. Already knowing the answer but needing to get all the formalities out of the way, so, Naruto, will you accept? Jumping to his feet and bowing deeply at the waist, Naruto says with utmost respect and adoration in his voice, I have only known you for one day and already you have done more for me than anybody ever has in my life. I am honored by your decision to train me as your successor and I humbly accept. Thank you so much, Jiraiya-sama. Clapping his hands together and returning the bow, no, Naruto, the honor is mine. I look forward to teaching you to the best of my abilities. Both standing up now, Jiraiya starts cracking his knuckles and says, all right, Naruto, it's time to get started. I plan on training you into the ground every day until the finals. We need you to get as strong as possible, as fast as possible. I've got a training schedule in mind for you. However, it will be grueling. Expect to go to sleep every night with chakra exhaustion because that is how hard I'm going to work you. There is no turning back now because certain events have been set in motion that will require you to be strong enough. Yosh, I am ready to get this done. Let's do it. Suddenly remembering the Gogyo Fuin, Jiraiya halts Naruto's celebrating. Wait, Naruto, I almost forgot about the seal Orochimaru gave you. Come here and lift up your shirt so I can remove it. Naruto does as told and raises his shirt. Fingertips glowing blue, Jiraiya slams his hand into Naruto's stomach with a cry of, Gogyo Fuin Kai. 5 elements seal release, and then it all goes dark. Naruto wakes up in what appears to be a sewer. A dark labyrinth filled with ankle-deep water and pipes with some glowing red and others blue. What happened? Did Ero Sennin knock me out or something when he removed the seal? Where the heck am I? Hearing a groaning near him, he looks over and sees Jiraiya waking up and looking around much like Naruto did. Now certain this isn't a dream because he's here, Naruto asks, hey Ero Sennin, what happened? Where are we? I'm not sure, Naruto. 1 second I'm removing that seal and the next we are here. A crimson glow lights up one of the tunnels when a deep voice, full of immense power, rang out. We are in your mindscape kit. I brought you both here. Now come. We must speak. The sheer aura exuded demanded respect. Naruto and Jiraiya both had an idea of what was happening. Tentatively Naruto asks, nay. Ero Sennin, is that what I think it is? It is. That is the voice of Kyuubi. We must be inside of your seal, Naruto. A deep chuckling rang out inside the chamber and the light grows stronger. Yes, human, you are correct. Now bring yourself and my jailer into the sealing chamber. I demand your presence here. There is much we must discuss. This is gonna be interesting. I didn't know I could talk to him. That's pretty cool. Shrugging, Naruto makes his way down the tunnel to the chamber with Jiraiya following. Eventually, they come into an open room with a massive set of wrought iron gates locked together by a paper with the kanji for seal imprinted on it. Coming near the gates, the massive sight of the great fox with 9 tails looming over Naruto and Jiraiya. The amount of power they could feel emanating from the great kitsune was massive. They could not help but be a little nervous. Welcome humans to my chamber. As you may have guessed, I am the greatest of the Biju, the Kyuubi no Kitsune, head of the Kitsune clan. And you, young one, are my jailer. Naruto decided to show respect to the great beast and bowed, yes, Kyuubi, I am your jailer. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. Deciding to forego his hermit dance so as not to piss off the giant demon in front of him, Jiraiya settled for a simple bow. Kyuubi, my name is Jiraiya, I am the Toad Sage and one of the Densetsu no Sannin. I am the one who taught your sealer, the Yondaime Hokage. I am wondering why I'm here though. Naruto, I can understand seeing as he is your jailer, but why bring me here? To thank you. Utterly flabbergasted that the most powerful being on the planet was thanking him, all he could ask was, why? What did I do? I've been affected by the remnants of a Mangekyo Genjutsu during my time as the Kit's jailer. The Genjutsu was disrupted when another seal was placed over the seal here. However, before I could regain my senses, I got completely sealed away by the one who reeks of snakes. You, when you released that seal, also managed to break the hold the Mangekyo held over me. For the first time in 13 years, I am myself again, and for that I thank you. During this time, Naruto is pondering something from Kyuubi's explanation. You've been under a genjutsu for 13 years. Does that mean you were being controlled when you attacked Konoha? Your suspicions are correct, Kit. Yes, I was controlled against my will when I attacked your village. I may be a greater demon full of anger, but I am the guardian of the land of fire as appointed by my creator, not its destroyer. So that means you never meant to attack the village. All of those people in my village hate you because you attacked, but you were forced to do it and you're innocent. Why would nobody realize this? Greatly surprised, his jailer does not seem to hold a grudge, but not showing it, Kyuubi shrugs and answers. Humans are ignorant in things they don't understand. Their intelligence is blinded by fear and hatred of me. Unfortunately, from what I've seen from your memories, they find an out for it all by targeting you, and for that I'm sorry. Wait a sec. How did you gain access to my memories? You only just met me. Jiraiya is also interested in this and turns for an answer. Did you not think drawing on my power would not have side effects? Every time you drew on my power, some of the haze from the genjutsu faded, showing me your memories. I've seen all you've experienced in your life, from the lowest of the low when you were beaten half to death all the way up to your feelings for the dark-haired ice woman that you tried to hide from her. Jiraiya, unfortunately, chose now to let his super pervert attitude into the light. With a rather lecherous grin on his face, now Gaki. What is this I hear? You have a girlfriend? Giggle giggle giggle. Turning red and stammering slightly, it's not like that, you big perv. I may like her, but there was no way we could be together. Our paths went different ways. Besides, Haku is none of your business. Enough of your bickering. We have much to decide. So I'll cut straight to the point. I want to make a deal with the Kit. Okay, that does not sound too bad. What kind of deal, Kyuubi? It involves the seal keeping me imprisoned here. I want. Please forgive the interruption, Kyuubi, but we can't free you. It would kill. Silence. I am aware of the cost of my freedom from this place, and don't you dare think I would try to free myself if it would harm the Kit. Our souls are linked by the seal through Shinigami-sama. If the Kit were to die, I would as well. I have no intention of that. Do not interrupt me again. I may be jailed, but I am a Biju and I deserve respect. Jiraiya, sweating profusely in his nervousness, bows, of course, Kyuubi-sama. Please forgive my disrespect. Naruto, having enough of the waiting, hey. I thought we were discussing a deal with me and the Kyuubi, so let's get back to business, shall we? I've got training to get done and I can't spend all my time here. My jailer is correct. Now, as I was saying before I was interrupted, I want to make a deal that involves the seal that binds you to me. First things first, I want access to your senses. As well as a mental link between you and me so we may communicate outside of the mindscape. In return, I will fix your body. Slightly concerned, Naruto asks, what do you mean, fix my body? What is wrong with it? Your growth has been stunted due to malnourishment and the seal's interference that happened while isolating me from you. What should have happened was my chakra would be leaked out at a small, but steady, rate as you grew, but it never did. Why, I don't know, but it is not important as it can be fixed. Back to my chakra tough, it would strengthen you bones and muscles, making them much stronger than they are and much harder to tear or break. Your height is one thing, unfortunately, not caused by me, but rather eating only ramen for meals. Your nutrition should be balanced out, but it is not, which is why you are small in stature compared to the rest of the generation your age. You have two choices here. You can fix it yourself by eating more meals and you will gradually gain your correct stature, or I can use my chakra to enhance it to get it done quickly. There will be some small repercussions if you take this option, but it is not that big of a change. Put simply, you are a 13-year-old stuck in a 9-year-old body. I will alter your body to reflect your correct age and appearance if you weren't malnourished and the seal worked correctly. Contemplating his options, Naruto says, Ero Sennin says we don't have much time. But I need to know what would happen if I took the second option. I'm not going to grow any tails or fox ears, will I? Nothing that drastic, no. These changes will be small. Your eyes will become slanted slightly and your pupils will turn to slits somewhat while your blue will remain, it will become deeper. Your face will become slightly more vulpine. Your canines will become small fangs and finally your whisker marks will darken slightly. Overall you will gain a few fox-like features that will make you look similar to the ones you call Inuzukas. These aren't just cosmetic changes though, your senses will be enhanced greatly. Your eyesight will be superior and will be granted night vision. Your nose will be able to smell the enemy from a mile away. Your hearing will be sharper as well, being able to discern sounds that would normally require chakra being channeled to your ears. I think it sounds okay, I could handle that. What do you think, Ero Sennin? Jiraiya's face takes on a contemplating look. The changes are small but still noticeable. But it's my fault anyway that he is like this because I tightened the seal after Naruto's birth to cut him completely from the chakra. This might cause even more trouble with the villagers. But we do need to get this done quick. We are leaving the soon anyway, so it should not be too much of a problem. He might as well. I think you should take the deal, Naruto. Nodding, okay Kyuubi, I accept the deal. Is there anything else? Giving a fox-like grin, there is something else. I know of the pervert's plan to train you. I will be doing so as well. I will not tolerate a weak container. You should know being my jailer grants you powers that until now have been locked away. However, I will not simply give them to you. No, I want something in return. Naruto looks ecstatic at the prospect of special powers, however Jiraiya looks wary. Wanting more information he asks, what are the powers and what do you want in return? Looking towards Jiraiya, the fox responds, you are suspicious of me. That is good. I am a fox and we are cunning that way. However, I will enlighten you. The kid being my jailer grants him two abilities, the ability to control Kitsune Bai, or fox fire, and allowing him to perform Kitsune illusions. These abilities are unique to my clan. The first will allow you to control our fire. It is blue in color and much stronger than normal fire. This will be useful to you because of your primary affinity, which is wind. Your second affinity for fire, which comes from me, will be enhanced to allow the use of fox fire. Kitsune illusions are a super-powered form of genjutsu. Most of my clan is unable to use normal genjutsu and that defect was passed to you upon my sealing. Kitsune illusions are illusions that affect the reality around the user. Use solid henge transformation as one of the most basic abilities. Completely surprised by this information, Naruto asks, wait, my henge is not supposed to be solid. I thought it was. Sighing again at his godson's stupidity, no Naruto, the henge is an E-rank genjutsu that only puts an illusion around the user to make it appear that the caster has changed. If it is touched it would waver or dissipate because it has no substance. To be able to pull off a solid transformation is a huge boon for infiltration missions. We will have to work on it later. Turning back towards Kyuubi, Jiraiya asks, you said you wanted something in return for these abilities. What is it you want? I have a way to grant me temporary freedom from this blasted seal. It will be controlled by the kid and I will not be able to come and go as I please, but it is enough to get me out of the damnable sewer and I would like to see the outside world again. Once again flabbergasted because he thought the seal prevented the Kyuubi's escape, he asks, how? A special summoning contract between the kid and myself. It would make myself kit's familiar, or personal summon, while not interfering with any other normal summoning contract he would sign. He can summon me for battle, or for training. There are many possibilities here. But I cannot train these abilities in the mindscape, so in order to train you in them, this must be done. Naruto is beaming now and says, so I could let you out of here and breathe the outside world again. That is awesome. It did not seem right that you were forced to be sealed for something that wasn't your fault. So long as you promise not to attack the village if I summon you, I don't see a problem. This is great. Jiraiya was worried but resigned. I have a feeling it's not that simple, Naruto. But there are simply too many benefits for this to ignore. We will take care of the contract later. Right now I am going to fix your body. There will be a large spike in my chakra that will likely be sensed in your village. This is unavoidable, but it can serve as an intimidation for those foolish villagers, showing them that all their efforts to make the kid weak were in vain. He will return to the village and they see his power. They will tremble in fear and awe, enlightening them to their mistake. A smug grin on Naruto's face and a worried look from Jiraiya, they both faded from the mindscape. Back in the clearing by the waterfall, Naruto and Jiraiya begin to stir. Waking up and shakily standing on slightly trembling legs, Jiraiya simply states, well, that was a hell of an experience. Also trembling slightly, Naruto comments, well, it was not that bad. We sure found out a lot of stuff we didn't know before. Plus I get to train now, so let's get started. A voice in his head then sounds out, not so fast, kid. Did you already forget? I am going to fix your body. Kyuubi. Oh yeah, I forgot you would be able to do that now. When are you going to fix my body again? First off, don't talk aloud, simply think what you want to say and I will hear it. Talking to yourself all the time will make you seem crazy. Second, I should warn you this is going to hurt. Thirdly, we start, now. Watching this whole exchange, Jiraiya was confused, but then he remembered how Naruto allowed Kyuubi a mental connection in his head. So he decided to simply let it all play out. All of the sudden though, a massive killer intent not felt in 13 years washes over the clearing. Naruto suddenly hunches over as red chakra surrounds his body. In a voice slightly altered by the demonic chakra, he reassures Jiraiya, who is looking worried. Don't worry, Arrow Sennin. The fox is just starting to fix my body. I'll be fin. Naruto's statement was cut off when the already rising killer intent exploded and a pillar of red chakra was sent into the sky and Naruto starting to scream in agony. Being knocked back by shockwave of the power releasing, Jiraiya can't help but be worried. Kyuubi wasn't kidding when he said this would be noticed miles around. Jiraiya at this point is trying to make his way towards Naruto but is having difficulties. Gah, I can hardly get close to him. This wind is so strong, and it burns. Pushing chakra into his limbs to push through the now gale force wind, Jiraiya is now standing in front of Naruto looking through the dense chakra. Inside he sees something that tears at his heart. Jiraiya can see Naruto floating slightly with his body rigid, arms and legs spread outward, face contorted in a silent scream of agony. Meanwhile back in the village, panic. Complete and utter panic ran rampant with the citizens of Konoha when the evil killer intent was felt and the pillar of red chakra rose in the distance for all to see. Civilians ran through the streets like a swarm of bees. Cries could be heard in the meantime. The demon is escaping. It's going to kill us all. We are going to die. In the Hokage's office we can see the entire room packed with terrified ninjas and the civilian and elder councils all panicking and demanding the death of Naruto. Hokage-sama, what is happening? The brat's releasing the Kyuubi. It's finally going to take revenge on us. The screeching voice of Haruno Sakiri, one of the prominent members of the civilian council, sounded above the din. I told you we should have killed the brat, Hokage-sama, and now look what happened. The demon has finally taken over and is going to kill us. While the ninja and civilian council were panicking, The elders had fallen silent because they noticed that the Hokage seemed fairly relaxed in all of this. Raising his hand and slamming it on the desk, Sarutobi roared, "Silence!" In the now silent room, Danzo spoke, "Hiruzen, what is the cause of such a massive release of Kyuubi's power? And why are you not worried about it? Do you know what is going on?" All eyes turn to the Hokage as he speaks clearly and lies to their face, though they don't know the last part. There is no cause for panic. I sent Jiraiya to oversee Naruto's training with the Fox's chakra. I told him to allow Naruto to go past his barrier and access as much as he could. Naruto came to me asking for help in controlling it because he could only go so far without losing himself to his bloodlust. So I offered Jiraiya and his skills in Fuinjutsu. I told him he would be able to practice without worry of repercussion, and in the event of a loss of control, Jiraiya would be able to suppress the beast. Standing up and turning to look out the window towards the pillar of power that is now starting to fade, the Sandaime continues, "Look. The power is starting to fade. Jiraiya has everything under control. Now leave and return to your duties after you calm the civilians running around in the streets in a panic. I warn you now, there will be no action taken against Naruto because of this, and if I catch so much as a whiff of trouble, everyone here and those responsible for whatever is done will be sent down to the torture and interrogation department to talk to Ibiki about following my orders." Grumbling about the demon brat, and how they can't give it what it deserves, the room starts to clear. However, it is only Danzo who catches the small smirk on his old teammate's face as he looks back to where the pillar was. Narrowing his eyes, he wonders, "What are you planning, Hiruzen? I know you were lying to us. What is really going on here?" Back in the clearing 10 minutes earlier, Jiraiya was feeling fairly sick watching the whole process. Looking through the red chakra, he can see Naruto's clothes burning from the heat and disintegrating. Unfortunately, without the bulky jumpsuit, Jiraiya has a clear picture of all that is happening to his godson's malnourished body. Even over the maelstrom of noise, he can still see and hear the cracking as bulges forming all over Naruto's body as bones are continually broken, restructured and reformed. A sickening squelching sound is heard. Muscle is forming and becoming tighter and more defined with new skin and hair growing. Even contorted in pain, he can see Naruto's facial features were changing. His face was losing some of its childish roundness and becoming more angular. His eyes were becoming slanted like a fox, his whiskers were becoming darker, and his canines were turning into fangs. In short, Naruto was growing at a rapid pace before Jiraiya's eyes. As sickening as it was, Jiraiya had to admire Naruto's tolerance for pain, lasting 5 minutes before passing out from the pain. After the initial scream of agony, he stopped shouting and simply grit his teeth and went with it. The only indication that Naruto was in pain was the expression on his face. Overall, the process took 10 minutes, but for Jiraiya it seemed like an eternity. Every breaking bone, every sickening squelch, every gasp of pain brought a wince to Jiraiya's face. His heart was breaking seeing his godson in such pain. But finally it was all over. Due to Naruto's now lack of clothing, Jiraiya went over to the bag full of training gear he brought from Naruto's apartment. He brought out the training suit. Dressing his godson's still steaming, and much heavier body, he rests him gently on the ground and looks over his new changes. Gone was Naruto's previously malnourished body, in its place was the body of a young man. He was no longer short for his age, changing from 4 feet 9 to 5 feet 3. His ribs and bones were no longer showing from malnourishment, instead he was covered in lean, tight muscle, not enough to be muscle-bound and impede his movements, but still strong and built for speed. His hair was longer, the back now going down to the middle of his shoulders, the sides going to just below his jaw, framing his face, his spiky bangs falling freely on his forehead. The top was not as sticking up in the air anymore but laid somewhat flat. His face looked older as well, losing some of its childish features. Great Kami. He looks like a young version of Minato. Looks like the fox kept its word. After gawking for a minute, he finally got over Naruto's changes and his thoughts turned more perverted. Ha! This kid is going to be fighting off the ladies with a stick with that feral look of his. He's going to be a gold mine for my research. Giggle giggle, I can see it now, Ika animal instincts. This kid is going to go far. It was while Jiraiya was lost in his perverted inner monologue that Naruto woke up. Noticing his new sensei's perverted look, he immediately shouted out in a slightly deeper voice, Aro Sennin. What perverted thoughts are you? Trailing off slightly, Naruto now seems to notice his changes. Gah. What happened to my voice? It's all deep now. Why do I feel different? Did the fox do this? Jiraiya snapping back to reality after Naruto's shout watches as Naruto was starting to freak out slightly in amusement. Having an idea, he shouts, Ha! You think it's only your voice that's changed? Look in the river at your reflection and see how you look now. Immediately rushing over to the river and looking at his reflection, Naruto starts spacing out while taking in his new features. Slightly worried at Naruto's silence, Jiraiya asks, Hey Gaki. Are you okay? Silence. I hope he's okay with the changes. Maybe he is upset at the fox. Or maybe, he's scared at what the villagers will think and do to him if they see the changes. Interrupting Jiraiya's worried reflection, Naruto suddenly grins brightly and shouts out, Yada. I look so cool. Aw man, this is awesome. I look totally badass. Naruto then starts bouncing around and doing some weird victory dance. Having a minor heart attack at Naruto's shout, he immediately stomps over and grabs Naruto by the collar of his suit and whacks Naruto upside the head while shouting, Damn it Gaki. You had me worried there. Don't freak me out like that. Giving sheepish grin and rubbing the back of his head, he says, Hee hee. Sorry Aro Sennin. I just got real excited for a minute. Taking a closer look at his body, Naruto now seems to notice his change in clothes. Hey, what happened to my orange jumpsuit? How did I get in this thing? That would be my fault, Naruto. You see, when you were changing, your clothes got burned off, so I put that training suit on you so you would not catch a cold laying on the ground. Oh, okay. As long as you didn't do anything perverted to me, it's all good. Gaining a tick mark on his head, he hits Naruto again, shouting, I'm not a pedophile Gaki. That's my snake of a former teammate. Besides, I would rather be dead than touch a guy that way. I'm a super pervert. I like girls. Ow. You didn't have to hit me. I was only joking. Sheesh. Well, it was a bad one, so don't do it again. If you two are quite done, we have work to do. Naruto grabs his head slightly in pain due to the fox's frustration. You okay, Gaki? Yeah, it's just the fox telling us to get to work. Growing serious, Jiraiya agrees. He's right. We have much to do and only a month to get it done. So let's get started. Is there anything we need to do before we get started? No, I'm ready to get. Trailing off with a blank look once again before coming back, wait. The fox says he and I have to get the contract taken care of. Having forgotten that little fact, Jiraiya remarks, Oh, I had forgotten about that. Well, it's probably a good thing anyway. I've got to run some errands to get some things for your training. So while you're doing that, I'll go take care of that and be back later. Nodding, Naruto says, Okay, I'll see you when you get back. Jiraiya then makes a hand sign and vanishes in a swirl of leaves. Watching Jiraiya leave, Naruto now asks the fox what to do. Come to your mindscape, I will explain what we need to do there. Okay, fox. But how do I get there? Naruto hears a sigh inside his head before, just sit and meditate, I'll do the rest. Doing as asked, Naruto sits cross-legged on the ground and closes his eyes. With Jiraiya appearing in a swirl of leaves outside of the Hokage tower, knowing he should probably talk to his sensei about what happened, Jiraiya then proceeds to hop up to the window of the Hokage office. Arriving through the window, he remarks, Hey sensei. I've got an update for you. Looking up from the current sheet of paperwork he was working on, the Sandaime Hokage greets his student with a serious look and asks, This would not happen to be about the immense spike in the fox's power that sent the village into a near panic, is it? Sitting across from Sarutobi, in an equally serious tone, Jiraiya responds, Yes it is. I wanted to tell you all that has happened since we left. Nodding, Go on. Well, it all started when I removed the Gogyo Fuin from Naruto. Back with Naruto. Appearing in the ceiling chamber in front of the gates, Naruto then stares up at the fox and greets him, "Hey Kyuubi. Time to get you out of that cage for a bit, right?" Nodding, the fox responds, "Yes, Kit. I am eager to breathe the outside world again. I see you're enjoying the changes I made to your body as well. However, before we get started, I ask that you change this place to be a little less dull. Sitting in a cage in a sewer can get real boring after a while." With a confused face, Naruto asks, "How can I do that?" Grumbling at his container's stupidity, the fox responds, "We are in your mindscape, Kit. Anything you can think of can be done here. The only limits here are the limits of your imagination." "Oh, okay. Then let's see." Closing his eyes with a concentrated look on his face, Naruto imagines the forest outside of Konoha. Sure enough, the mindscape starts to waver and morph. The stone floor became a grassy plain, the pipes became giant trees, and the ceiling became a blue sky with a few clouds for shade. Opening his eyes, Naruto starts staring in awe and his face lights up before noticing the bars of the cage are still there. Looking determined and closing his eyes again, Naruto starts concentrating on the bars with Kyuubi looking on in confusion. Upon seeing the bars of his cage changing, the fox, now understanding what Naruto was attempting, looked on in eagerness. Pretty soon the bars changed to form a large tree with the kanji for seal engraved in its bark. Breathing hard from the effort, Naruto then looks up to the Kyuubi and asks with a small smile, "How's that?" The Kyuubi then starts glowing. Watching in some fascination, Naruto watches as the Kyuubi shrinks in size until he is the size of a small horse. Kyuubi then relaxes and lays down on the ground and stretches out in a patch of grass. Letting out a sigh in satisfaction, he says, "Much better. Thank you." Wondering how the Kyuubi changed size, Naruto says, "You're welcome. But how did you change size? Why did you not do that before?" Giving Naruto a foxy grin, it remarks, "And miss seeing the fear and awe on your face when you met me the first time." "I don't think so. All foxes like playing pranks. I might be a biju, but I'm still a fox and so I like pranks as well." Grin growing, "And when I'm free I'm going to show you how to really prank those villagers of yours. You and I are going to have a lot of fun." Nodding eagerly, "That sounds like fun, but I'm not known as the prankster king of Konoha for no reason. You might be surprised at what I can think of. I almost pity the villagers for what we are going to do to them." Both chuckling at the mental images of the villagers being pranked to hell, it's Kyuubi who decides to start. "Let's get this done then. The sooner I'm out, the sooner we can start your training." Growing serious, Naruto sits on the ground and starts listening as the fox explains. "Now, as you know, we are going to make a summoning contract for me that will allow my freedom from the seal. It's a fairly simple process, so it should be done by the time the pervert gets back. Now, first thing we need is a blank summoning scroll." How are we going to get that? There is not much in here to use." Reaching out with one of his tails, Kyuubi then whacks Naruto on the head, sending him sprawling face down into the grass. Jumping back up and pointing at the fox, he shouts angrily, "Hey! What did you do that for?" It was a serious question. Face palming, the Kyuubi responds, "You baka. What did I just say about your mindscape and what you could do in it? You said I could change it and the only limits are my." "Oh, I see what you mean now. Here." A blank summoning scroll then appears in between them and Kyuubi decides to continue explaining. "As I was saying, now you need to place some blood on the scroll. Take a kunai and slice your hand and squeeze the blood over the scroll." Naruto does as instructed. "Now I'm sending you a mental image of the hand signs you need to weave. Do you have them?" Naruto nods. "Good. While I run my chakra into the scroll, channel your own chakra, run through those hand signs and slam your hand down into the blood, releasing all the chakra you build up into the scroll." "Okay, but I was wondering what the last hand sign was. I've never seen it before." "It's the hand sign for demon. Only those with a demon's chakra flowing in them can use it to any effect." Satisfied, Naruto follows the instructions. After releasing his chakra into the scroll, it started glowing with a mixture of red and blue, and the blood started spreading across the scroll in intricate patterns Naruto had never seen before. Eventually the glow died down and Kyuubi says, "Contract complete." As soon as the fox spoke, Naruto's arms started burning and smoking. Closing his eyes, Naruto grit his teeth so as not to cry out. Feeling the pain dissipate, he looks down at his arm that now holds a tattoo on his arm with 9 tails curled into a spiral similar to the swirl symbol on the back of his jumpsuit and an image of Kyuubi's head in the center. Forestalling Naruto's question, Kyuubi says, "That is a summoning tattoo. It is what symbolizes our contract allowing you to summon me." "Great. What do I do now, Kyuubi? I sense the pervert has not returned, so leave the mindscape and wait for him. When he returns, tell him the contract was mad and then summon me." "Okay, how do I summon you?" "Bite your thumb and swipe some blood across the seal, channel some of my chakra and then slam your hand onto the ground shouting, 'Oni Kuchio's no Jutsu, Demon Summoning Jutsu.' Alright, see you in a few minutes." Naruto fades out of his mindscape and back into the clearing. Jiraiya back in the Hokage office. "And that is when I left him to get the contract done." Jiraiya blew out a breath and sat back in his chair. The Hokage was speechless. The story sounded so crazy, yet he had a feeling it was all true. Jiraiya and Naruto met Kyuubi. Kyuubi was under a genjutsu when it attacked the village. Kyuubi wants to help Naruto. Kyuubi aged Naruto's body 4 years in 10 minutes. Naruto can summon the Kyuubi. It was all too much and Sarutobi's brain shut down. Jiraiya was getting a little worried when the silence stretched on. "Maybe I broke him. It is kind of a lot to take in." Waving his hand in front of Sarutobi's face, Jiraiya asked, Sarutobi-sensei. "Are you in there, sensei?" Eventually the Hokage's brain rebooted and he asked to confirm once again, "You're not joking, are you, Jiraiya?" "That is all completely true. Completely, sensei." Sighing, the Hokage responded, "I was afraid of that. You're absolutely certain there is no danger to the village? You don't think the Kyuubi was lying?" "I was worried at first, but it seems sincere. I don't think there is any danger." "Very well then, Jiraiya. Just be careful." "Sure thing, sensei. I better get going. I have to get some supplies before I go back to the clearing." Jiraiya then leaves out the window and towards the marketplace thinking about all the things he needs to do. "I have to get him a new outfit. That orange jumpsuit has to go. He's going to need some weights for taijutsu practice. Going to have to go to the Higurashi ninja shop for that. I should probably get him some books on sealing and basic fuinjutsu supplies while I'm there. Sealing is in his blood being an Uzumaki, and when he finds out about his mother I bet he will be even more interested. Finally, I need to teach him some basic ninjutsu. Won't be too hard. I can take care of that. Plus the training in those abilities Kyuubi was talking about. This is going to be a long month." Arriving at the Higurashi ninja shop, he walks in and the door rings, signaling his entrance. Looking over at the counter he sees a young girl in a Chinese-style shirt and hair up in 2 buns polishing a katana. Looking up when he enters, the girl grows wide-eyed at his presence. Jumping up and bowing, the girl says, "Jiraiya-sama. It's an honor to have you in our store. My name is Higurashi Tenten. Is there anything I can help you find?" Bowing slightly in return, Jiraiya remarks, "Actually, Tenten-san, I was wondering if Kashiro was in." "Oh, you mean Dad? Yeah, he's in the back working the forge. I'll go get him." Deciding to start looking around while waiting, Jiraiya eventually hears a booming voice behind him. "Ah, Jiraiya-sama, it's been years since ya last been here. It's great to see ya again." Turning around he sees a bear of a man. Higurashi Kashiro, a former ninja who retired due to injury in the Third Shinobi War, is very tall and muscular with a barrel chest and massive arms covered in scars and burn marks that only comes from blacksmithing, a weathered face and long black hair with streaks of gray bound by a leather strap showing his age. Smelling of smoke and clothes covered in soot. Though imposing, the man has a mile-wide smile on his face as he greets his old friend. An equally large grin on his own face, Jiraiya shakes the man's large hand says, "It's been too long, Kashiro. And how many times have I told you to drop the sama? I told you, just because I'm a Sanin doesn't mean you have to address me like that. We go way back to my genin days." Laughing loudly, Kashiro responds, "Only every time I see ya, Jiraiya. But I'm sure ya didn't come here to reminisce about old times. Now what can I do for ya?" Growing serious, Jiraiya looks Kashiro in the eyes and says, "It regards his legacy." Knowing immediately who Jiraiya was talking about, Kashiro turns to his daughter who is listening to the conversation. "Ten-chan, would you please go deliver the batch of training weapons to the academy while Jiraiya and I borrow the shop for a bit?" Confused, but resigned, she responds, "Okay, Dad. I'll be back in an hour." Leaving and switching the sign to closed on her way out, Kashiro then asks, "So it's time already, huh?" "Yes. Things are happening that are making me move up my plans for Naruto. I have to train him and get him strong enough to survive what is about to happen. I've met young Naruto several times already, he always seemed like such a nice boy. But I know some of the things that have happened to him and quite frankly it disgusts me. I'm happy to help Jiraiya. I owe Minato a debt that I could never repay. The least I can do is help his son. I know. I just found out the whole story from Naruto and Sarutobi-sensei. Let's just say things in the village are going to be very exciting come the finals. I'm sure. Now what is it you need?" "I'm needing a new outfit made for Naruto. 5 sets of them will work and I've already got what I want written down. That orange jumpsuit makes Naruto a walking target and he needs to blend in more." Handing Kashiro the paper with the specifications, he looks it over and nods. "I can have this done in a few weeks. What else?" Nodding, "Yes, about 5 will do. Also, Naruto and I are going to leave after the finals, so I need the long-term training package. Training clothes, with slots to put weights in. Don't worry about them being chakra weights, I can draw the seals myself. A full set of kunai and shuriken. Some basic fuinjutsu scrolls and supplies. Also a practice sword for kenjutsu. I'm going to give Naruto his mother's inheritance and I'm sure he is going to need it. Finally, I need some sealing scrolls to store everything." As Jiraiya was listing the items, Kashiro was grabbing them off the shelves and piling them on the counter. Pulling out his wallet to pay for the items, Kashiro waves it away. "It's on the house, Jiraiya. I've gained plenty of business from Naruto over the years and this is the least I can do to help repay my debt." Bowing to the man, Jiraiya said, "Thank you, my friend. There is one more thing though. I need a batch of Minato's special order to be made and picked up before we leave. I will pay double for your speed and discretion." Eyes widening, Kashiro whispers, "So you are going to teach him that?" "Very well. I'll have it done and ready by the time you have to leave. Be careful." Bowing once again, Jiraiya heads towards the door with the large scroll full of supplies. Before he leaves he says, "You too, Kashiro. I won't forget this. Thank you." And then he was gone in a swirl of leaves after the door closes. With Naruto back at the clearing. "Kuso. What is taking that pervert so long? I swear if he is peeking again I'm going to beat the crap out of him." "Cease your senseless ranting, he is here." A swirl of leaves announced Jiraiya's arrival with a large scroll tucked under his arm. Waving, "Hey Naruto. I'm back. Sorry it took so long, I was talking with Sarutobi-sensei and got held up." "How did things go with the fox?" Accepting Jiraiya's excuse and calming down, Naruto responds, "It's done. I was just waiting for you to get back before I summoned him." "What is in the scroll by the way?" Waving it off, "It's just some supplies for your training. Go ahead and summon Kyuubi. I want to see how this works."